Miss Smithrow. Yes, sir. These transitions are yours. Yeah? I know we're talking about travel and everything this week, but you got a bullet on your head. Mm-hmm. Why? Birds travel. Oh, yeah, you went there. Welcome back, friends. Do you guys think that Miss Mithrow's lost her mind yet? It's okay. I can be pretty silly too. Welcome back, friends, to Storytime with Miss Mithral. Of course, I'm Miss Mithral, and this is Antibo de Flora. Anyway, welcome back to the show. Glad to have you. I am an antibody. I'm the thing inside of you that helps keep you safe, and warm, and comfortable. Tries to fight off all those nasty germs. You're making sure that you're washing your hands all the time to help me fight those germs like the superhero you are, right? I'm sure you are. Excellent. Alright, so we got on the agenda today. Well, even though we're going to be discussing how to travel by boat, yes, I have a bird on my head. Because last week we were talking about puppets. Yeah, we were talking about puppets. Yeah, talking about me. And pirates. And parrots, a lot of P's. You were talking about buried treasure and reading the story Treasure Island. And is that what's up with that? That's a pretty good guess. I just felt like being silly. You gonna wear it again later? Yeah, I'm thinking about wearing it in later. Alright, friends, I hope you enjoyed this. This is my parrot cap. I got it at the store one time and thought it was super silly and wanted to use it for something at some time. I may wear it again later on today. I love how colorful it is. Yeah, pretty darn colorful. So, welcome back. I'm gonna go get me a front row seat. Welcome back. Today we will be highlighting ways of travel. What kind of ways of traveling do you take on a regular basis? Can you think of any different ways that you travel? Go from one place to another? Mm-hmm. Sometimes we go travel in a car. Beep beep. Meow. Meow. Beep beep. Sometimes we go on a train. Woo woo. And sometimes we go in an airplane. Sometimes when you're playing outside, do you like to spread open your arms and pretend you're an airplane? Can you pretend you're an airplane with me now? Hear your side propellers. But today we're going to focus on how to go by boat. A boat sits on the what? Do you know, friends? On the water. Boot doot. Sometimes those tugboats make those sounds. Boot boot. Boot boot. So if you ever see like a little fisherman in his little boat at sea and you go like this, it's a good way to see if he's got a horn. He might toot back at you. Toot toot. You want to practice that with me now? Toot toot. Toot toot. Well, we have got quite a bit of a late start today, but better late than never, as I've been saying a lot more often lately than I thought. But what time is it? Time. Oh, wow. Don't have to change too much, because it is in the 12 o'clock hour right now, but instead of being 12:57 like we just wrote, it is now 12:40. Here we go. We have the red number with the short red hand, and the blue number with the long blue hand. And the 40 is over the 8. Let's go over our times tables real quick. Our multiplications by 5. 5. Whoops, wrong side. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, That's our 5 times table. I just made that up right now. Hey, maybe we can make that stick. Alright, so, as you can see, big hand is on the 8. That means it's 12:40. Thank you for joining me for Time. Enjoy the rest of your day. Our book today is going to be Night of the Moonjellies. And this is about a little boy getting on a boat. And as we've been experimenting with lately, we'll have some nice relaxing music to listen to at the same time. First, let's address our schedule. For today, we have our story time. Then number 2, fun. And then third, we have tale. I hope you've been enjoying the Wishbone rendition of Treasure Island. I plan to continue reading that until, well, when it's done. Today we'll be starting Chapter 4. Right now, the X goes on story time. Alright. Let's get on our music. Night of the Moonjellies by Mark Shasha. The summer I was 7, I held out 2 days a week at Margras, a seaside hot dog stand that made the best lobster rolls in New England. It was named after the owners, my grandmother Mary and her sister Grace. One Friday morning I woke up at Graham's and grabbed my apron on the way out of the door. Along the beach, I picked up pieces of sea glass, worn and rounded by the ocean. Then I found something that I felt like jelly. I put it in a plastic bag with the sea glass, poured in some seawater, and ran the rest of the way to Margras. Gram was already there, getting the stand ready for opening. She hugged me and puffed a flower rose up from her apron. I gave her the plastic bag and she held it up to the light. "It looks like something special is in here with sea glass, Mark," she said. "What is it, Gram?" "It's a surprise," said Gram, "but we'll have to wait until later." She gave me a kiss and put the bag near the sink. There was still a lot of work to do before opening. Gram took a big pinch of salt, stirred it in the lobster sauce, and scooped a big bit into a cup. We each took a little sweet, buttery sip. Mmm. Gram folded and pinned my apron to make it fit, then put a paper hat on my head. She started to shape hamburger patties while I stacked them in between sheets of waxed paper. "Good morning, you two," boomed Uncle Al. He switched on the grill and sprinkled it with slices of pepper and onion. Gram started the fried clams while I checked the catsup, mustard, and relish jars. I was also in charge of straws and napkins. Aunt Grace walked in tying her apron just as the first customers drove up. Aunt Grace walked in. Cousin Rolly appeared around the corner with a sack of umbrellas on his shoulder. I cranked them open as he dropped them into the holes in the tables. Behind us, the stall had filled. "3 lobster rolls, 2 orange sodas, burger, 3 fries, 2 chocolate shakes." Fries crackled. Cheeseburgers sizzled. "More rolls!" called Uncle Al. "Rushing through," Graham said, carrying a kettle of clam chowder up front. "Low on straws," Rolly shouted. I hurried to fill the box. Finally, the seats facing the water were empty again. "Let's have lunch while we can," Graham said, bringing over a tray of lobster rolls and onion rings. We ate where we could watch the boats. "I think it'll be even busier tonight," Graham said. "And we're out of onion rings." See the boats in the background there? Little boy Mark can see them perfectly from his seat. It seems like this is his summer job, helping his family out with their concession stand. Have you ever seen a stand like this? You just walk up and place your order, and you can sit down in the lovely sun out here. She opened a bag of onions and sliced them into loops. We dipped them into the sticky butter, and then into breadcrumbs, until Al hauled the popcorn machine into its nighttime place on the counter. Graham filled its tray with corn kettles and butter sticks. Uncle Al switched on the inside lights. 4 popcorn, 4 orange sodas, 2 burgers, 2 dogs, 6 vanilla shakes. "Cheese!" yelled Uncle Al. "Right here," Aunt Grace said, dropping a sack of slices onto the plate. Customers crowded in the counter. Radios blared baseball and music. Horns beeped. "Catsups low!" shouted Uncle Al. "Lobster rolls ready!" Graham called. Pots clanged and the register rang. Customers waved as they drove off. I ate a cheeseburger. It was a busy, noisy night. Look at that. Some people have traveled there by car. See them sitting in the cars getting ready to eat? While the last customers left, it was time to begin the night chores. Uncle Al scrubbed the grill to a silvery shine. Graham washed the pots and utensils. I helped her dry them and put them away. Rolly collected the umbrellas, and the counter workers went home. "Good night, you two," Uncle Al said as he locked the stand. He hugged us and drove off into the moonlight, leaving us with the sounds of crickets and rustling leaves. Graham handed me a sweater. "You'll need this for the surprise," she said. Oh, we have witnessed all sorts of different methods of traveling so far, friends. But where's the boat? She started down the pier and stopped at a boat. The Periwinkle. "Welcome aboard," said a cheery voice. Tyler, a fisherman, helped us onto the boat. "There's hot chocolate inside," he said. Tyler threw the ropes onto the dock and climbed up to start the engine. The engine roared as we headed out to the dark sea. "Let's go in and keep warm," Graham said. The cabin smelled of hot chocolate. The lights along the shore got smaller and closer together. We went out farther and farther, and the engine slowed. Grandma held up the bag of sea glass and jelly. Something sparkled inside. "It's a moon jelly," Graham said. I almost dropped the pot of chowder when the moon jelly flickered in the bag near the sink. The engine stopped suddenly. Graham peered out the window. "Tyler's found the place where this belongs," she said with a smile, and I bounded out of the cabin. Look at that, friends. That moon jelly that the little boy picked up glows. Thousands of moon jellies stretched along the sea in every direction. I opened the bag and poured out our moon jelly. Now it was with the others. We stood on the deck and watched the shimmering sea. After a while, Tyler started the engine and we headed home. At the deck, we thanked Tyler and walked to Graham's. She made chamomile tea and put some melon on a plate. She held up the pieces of sea glass to the light, then put them into a small box. She was writing something on the box with my eyes being closed. It read, "With love to Mark from Graham." Night of the Moonjellies. Wow! That was quite the surprise that Graham had for the boy, huh? Oh, you know something I noticed? The author's name is Mark Shasha, and the little boy's name is Mark. I'm thinking this may be based on a real story. All these things really happened to a little boy that went on to the boat called the Periwinkle with his Graham. Ah, yep. Says so right here. Oh, wow. Margraw's was a busy seaside diner at 272 Picoit Avenue in New London, Connecticut, from 1956 to 1971. And it was owned by my grandmother, Mary Shasha, and her sister, Grace Stedman. Wow. Oh, man, I would love to go travel and look at a place like that. I bet it smells wonderful, too. You can smell the hot dogs and the cheeseburgers, that fresh popcorn, and the sea in the distance, and almost hear the seagulls calling as they travel by wing. I really enjoyed that story, and I hope you did too. It is now time to check off the story. You got your check off fingers ready for me? Here we go. Remember, down and up, down up, and we're moving on to the fun. It's great that we were talking about a boat. After this very short break, you and I are going to do a quick sink or float activity. So stay tuned. In just a short minute, we'll be right back. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, when I said short, I wasn't kidding. I meant short. Absolutely, that was short. Alright, let me move this out of the way just a little bit. Okay, today you and I are going to play a little game with this sink or float activity. As you can see here, I have a very big container filled with water. You remember seeing all the water, just like in the ocean in the book? And what do you suppose this is that I just had on top of the water? What's that? The boat. Look at that. See how it's bobbing up and down on the water and it's floating? Well, I happen to have 3 items here. Well, technically I got 4. I guess I could use this one. I didn't even think about that until now. Okay, so we're going to have 4 items, but we're going to focus on 3 right now. I have 3 items here, and I'm going to ask you if you think, if I put them in the boat, will they sink or float? Let's start with this plastic spoon. Do you have any plastic spoons at home? Feels nice and smooth. Usually they're white, but sometimes they can be clear or black. What do you think will happen when I put it into the boat? Will it sink or will it float? Let's see. It indeed floats. Look at that. If I take it out of the boat, oh, okay, at first it kind of floats, but water's slowly getting on top of the scoop right here. Now speaking of spoons and the scoop, I have another spoon here. This one's different. Do you notice this blue spoon? can you tell, maybe by the sound of it or the way it looks, that it's not the same type as the first spoon? They make two different sounds. So if I put the spoon, though, in here into the boat, what do you think is going to happen? Let's see. Whoa. Alright. It floats. That's cool. Now for the real test. What if I throw it overboard? Do you think it'll sink or float? Will it float just like the plastic one, or sink because it's made of something else? Let's see. Go straight to the bottom. Look at that. I can only tilt it so much because it's so filled with water, sadly. Alrighty, last but not least, this is one of my favorite toys. This is one of those Pokemon. I've talked about them before. It's probably well over 700 at this point. This is one from the first generation. His name is Blastoise. His name is Blastoise because he has these big cannons that grow out of his shell like that, and he can blast water at high pressures out of them. Alright, what do you think is going to happen to Blastoise when I put him in the boat? Will he sink or float? Let's see. Whoa! Turtle overboard! Turtle overboard! Mon overboard, you mean? Because it's a Pokemon. Oh, good point. Mon overboard! Mon overboard! Haha, jokes. Look at that! It sank down so quickly that some water actually got into our boat. Let's put it overboard and see what happens. Oh my goodness, but look at that. It kind of bobs on top of the water. Boop. I can still touch it. On its own. But in the boat, the weight of the ball shifted it to the corner and made the water come in, so then it sank. Now, I'm going to ask you, what do you think will happen if I put all three items in? You think it'll sink or float? Let's see. Barely a song. Alright, and that's our activity for that. Thank you for joining in with me. Did you make any guesses of what would sink and what would float? Were you right? You can do this all sorts of ways in your own home. Be sure to make sure that certain things are able to be wet. I had to pick very carefully what toys or what things I put into my water and think to myself, is it something that could be electric later? Because I don't want to short it out or to get damaged by water. Some things will not work anymore if you put it in water. So be very careful when making your selection with toys. I might suggest other bouncy balls like this. Spoons is a good pick. Or how about something like this? This is my board cleaner. Whenever I'm erasing the board, I use this to erase it all. As you can see there, it floated at first, but then slowly sank down. This needed to be cleaned anyway. Alright, I'm going to put it into this other little boat that I had off to the side. Alright, I'll see you in a minute for our folk story. a brisk and quick day we're having, friends. Oh, wow. Yeah, we're going to be done before you know it. Alright, so we had just got finished with our fun time. Are you ready to do the check-off fingers with me? Get them ready. You do it in the air. Check. And here we go. I hate it when I do this to myself. Am I sitting on it? Just hiding behind that? Did it fall? Oh, I think the original marker fell. That is okay. Oh, I see it. Okay. I can't reach it. I'm full. I'm good. Here we go. Knot it up. Just barely, but we got the check mark on there. Alright, we've done our fun, and it's time for our tale. So, as we left our young Jim Hawkins, I'm gonna go ahead and put this back on so you can take me seriously. Storytelling is serious business. As we last left our young boy Jim Hawkins, he was just about to get onto the boat to sail off with the men. There was a doctor, there was Dr. Livesey, and there was Mr. Oh, I want to make sure I can pronounce his name. First of all, we definitely know that Long John Silver was on that boat. Absolutely. Let's see. And let's see. They had their men. Oh, then we had Mr. Dancy. And that was the captain of the ship. You have to have a captain of a ship before you can set sail, because they know what to do. They know how to take care of the ship backwards and forwards, and not to mention they make very good leaders and very good bosses. So let's see. And then there was Trelawney. That's right, Squire Trelawney. He was the one that likes to talk a lot, and everybody was worried because he might have let out his little secret that they were going to go hunt for buried treasure. Alright, and then we will bring ourselves to chapter 4. Funny enough, that will be a short chapter. Now remember, in Wishbone's story, we kind of go back and forth between the real Wishbone and the part when he's pretending that he's a character in a story. So we're about to read what happened next with his friends, Sam, David, and Joe, and what happened with the horseshoe that they wanted to find in the farm. Alright. Nope. I almost forgot. The pirate music. Set the mood a little bit more. Huh. Alright, making sure it's good background sound for me and you. Let's see what happened next. Guys! Hey guys, wait up! Wishbone ran along behind the 3 bikes of his pals, sped down the path through the woods. It was a stormy, threatening afternoon, and Wishbone kept looking at the sky and worrying. Sam, David, Joe, and Wishbone soon emerged into the clearing before the weathered barn, and Wishbone stared at the old gray building, feeling a funny fluttering in his stomach. You know, something just told me we'd be coming back here. Sam parked her bike and stood gazing at the barn, clutching the map in her chest. Thunder rumbled in the distance, but she did not seem to notice. Her smile was determined and stubborn. Coming up behind her, David muttered, "What are we doing here?" He asked the question in a tone that said he would be glad to head for home. Without looking around, Sam said, "We've got to find that horseshoe." Joe looked startled. "You heard what my mom and Miss Gilmore said. The barn's condemned." He sounded so upset that Wishbone stared at him. He could smell Joe's fear of this abandoned old place, its boards creaking in the rising wind of a storm. He tried to give Joe a reassuring glance. "Don't worry, Joe. You have me to protect you. You may have heard it said before that dogs can smell fear. Well, it's true. And I'll bet you're You're wondering what fear smells like to dogs. Unfortunately, I can't tell you. It's a trade secret. Sam gave Joe a superior look. We'll be fine, she said. Don't be scared, guys. I'm not scared, David snapped back at once. Wishbone shook his head. Come on, David. You said you're not scared, but my nose knows you are. Trade secret, remember? Joe's expression became grim and determined. I'm not afraid either, he announced. Thunder boomed, and Wishbone started to shake. Well, that's funny. I'm terrified. David seemed to catch some of Wishbone's worry. As another clap of thunder came from much closer, he said, The weather doesn't look so good, guys. Sam strode towards the barn. Come on, she said. I've brought us this far. Wishbone followed the boys towards the barn as Sam raised the wooden latch and pulled the big door open. Sam's bravery impressed him and made him feel a little better about the adventure. That's right, Sam. The voyage has just begun and you're the captain. He gulped. Let's just hope it's a safe trip. He paused at the open barn door and looked anxiously up at the boiling black sky. The inside of the barn was dark. Wishbone could smell the faded scent of horses and lots of decomposing hay. His keen ears caught the high-pitched sound of a mouse in a burrow under the wall complaining that they were disrupting its nap. The wood was old, dry, and dusty, but still strong and sound. The floor under Wishbone's paws was nothing more than hard-packed dirt. The barn was a very big, creepy, shadowy place, and suddenly he felt very small. He flinched when a branch blown by the wind smashed against the barn's rusted tin roof. But Sam was looking around as if the barn were a palace. Can you imagine what this place was like when Blackbeard was alive? She asked excitedly. David began to edge towards the door. Sam, I think we should go. Sam turned on him and said, Look, guys, I'm not leaving until I find that horseshoe. The whole barn lit up as a bolt of lightning crashed to the earth not far away, and an instant later the air vibrated from a huge explosion of thunder. Wishbone was so startled that he yipped, and all the kids gasped. Joe swallowed hard. That's it, Sam. We're leaving, and you're coming with us. But at that moment, a strong gust of wind blew the barn door shut with a boom! Wishbone heard the latch click into place. Guys, I hate to bring this up, but I think we're locked in. David and Joe realized the same awful truth. They hit the door at the same instant and shoved it with all their might. No use. The wind had locked them inside the barn, making prisoners of them all. Thunder crashed again right overhead. The wind howled, and a shivering Wishbone realized, We're trapped! That's the only problem with adventures. They usually give you more than you bargained for, things you don't expect. Oh, you always think you're planned on going to work out just fine, but then something unexpected happens, just like something unexpected and terrifying happened to Jim Hawkins before he even got to Treasure Island. And that's where the story's going to stop for now. But here is a picture of the barn that Sam, David, Wishbone, and Joe came to stop at. And we'll start in on Chapter 5 on our next show. I remember exactly what trouble they're getting in, but I won't tell. It's a trade secret. Alright, let's go ahead and check mark tail time off. Set it up here. Get those check mark fingers ready for me. Check. Alright. And we'll do one more time, and then we will say goodbye. Now, instead of it being the red hour of 12, it's just 1. So I'll just erase the 2. Put that there. It is now 1:10. And that's what 1:10 looks like. The little red hand is on the 1. The big red hand, or big blue hand, is on the 2. And that makes 1:10 p.m. Whew. I hope you're getting super excited like I am. I can't wait to read to you what happens next in the story. Of course, next time on the Wishbone story, we'll be tuning in to Jim Hawkins' perspective. And remember, every time we read that side of the story, Jim Hawkins is actually Wishbone pretending he's the little boy Jim Hawkins. Can't wait to see what happens next. This is Miss Mithril. I'm saying goodbye for now. See you next time. Have a great day. Remember, wash your hands. Be happy, be healthy, be safe.